Hello, today we'll do the lesson called The Girl Who Can by Ama Ata Aidoo. So, we are on page 10 of the text. So, it says, They say I was born in Hasdozi, and it's a very big village in the central region of our country, Ghana. So, Ghana is a country in Africa. Africa is a continent. So, in the central region of Ghana, there is a village called Hazodzi, and the narrator was born in that village. They also say that when all of Africa is not choking under a drought, Hazodzi lies in a very fertile lowland in a district known for its good soil. So, here Hazodzi is very fortunate because when all the rest of Africa is drought prone, drought ridden, drought is absence of rain. Africa is a very hot continent. So when the rest of Africa is suffering from drought, Hazorzi, it its place, it lies in a very fertile lowland in a district known for its good soil. So the soil and the position of Hazodzi make it very fertile. That is, crops probably grow all the year round, and there's no shortage of water in Hazodzi. So next we're told maybe that is why anytime I don't finish eating my food, Nana says, "You, Adjoa, you don't know what life is about. You don't know what problems there are in this life." So, Nana is probably the grandmother of Adjoa. Adjoa is the little girl who is the narrator of the story. So sometimes children don't finish the food on their plate. So then, when Adjoa does that, when she doesn't finish the food on her plate, Nana says to her, "You don't know what problems there are in this life." So she's referring to the other problems that the rest of Africa faces. In Hazodzi, there's plenty of food, but the rest of Africa may not be so fortunate because it is drought prone. Drought can happen at any time of the year in the rest of Africa. So, next, as far as I could see, there was only one problem, and it had nothing to do with what I knew Nana considered as problems or what mommy thinks of as the problem. So, as far as Adjoa, the little girl, is concerned, there is only one problem, and the, and that problem has nothing to do with what her grandmother Nana considers as problems or what her mother Mommy thinks of as the problem. The problem means the only problem that has to be overcome. So, Mommy is my mother. Nana is my mother's mother. So, Nana is her grandmother on her mother's side. And they say I'm 7 years old. So she doesn't know her age because at that time when the story was written, many people did not know about their birth dates. So they don't know how, many people did not know how old they were. So they said that Adjoa was 7 years old. And my problem is that even at this 7 years of age, there are things I can think in my head, but which maybe I do not have the proper language to speak them out with. So she's only 7 years old, but she has a problem. That is, her mind is very active. She can think about things, but she cannot express what she's thinking. She doesn't have a language to express her thoughts with. So she has many good ideas, many good thoughts, but she's unable to convey them to the others. So as far as Adjo is concerned, that is her one problem, only problem. And that I think is a very serious problem. So she thinks, not being able to tell others about what she is thinking about, what her ideas are, that is a very serious problem. Because always difficult to decide whether to keep quiet and not say any of the things that come into my head, or say them and get laughed at. So she is a precocious child. Precocious means that she is mature for her age. She is older than her physical age. So the problem that she's facing is that she either has to keep quiet, has to keep silent about it, or she has to speak out her thoughts, but because she cannot express them properly, she might get laughed at. She'll become the butt of a joke. So that is the problem, whether to keep quiet or be laughed at. Not that it is easy to get any grown up to listen to you, even when you decide to take the risk and say something serious to them. So, here she's making a general observation that many grown ups, many adults, they still have the minds of children. So, it's never easy to get any adult to listen to what somebody else has to say, to what Adjo has to say, even. And you have to take a risk to say something serious to them. Take Nana. So she takes the example of her grandmother. First, I have to struggle to catch her attention. So, first, she has to make Nana, she has to persuade Nana to listen to her. Then, I tell her something I'd taken a long time to figure out. So, she's thought about some things for a long time, and she's come to a conclusion, and she wants to tell Nana what she thinks. And then, what always happens, she would at once stop whatever she's doing and, mouth open, stare at me for a very long time. So at that time, when Adjoa says something that is too mature for her young age, Nana always becomes a bit surprised, maybe even shocked. She stops whatever she's doing and her mouth falls open, and she looks and stares at Adjoa for a very long time because she cannot believe that Adjoa has such, uh, can be so mature. Then, bending and turning her head slightly so that one ear comes down towards me, she'll say in that voice, Adjoa, you say what? So, and then after she shows her disbelief at what Adjoa is saying, she turns her head slightly so that one of her ears comes close to Adjoa, and then uh, and then she says in that voice is that voice she always uses to show her disbelief, to show her surprise, to show her astonishment. Adjoa, you say what? So she doesn't want Adjoa to say anything that is beyond her age. After I repeated whatever I said, she would either still in that voice ask me, never, 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 but never to repeat that. So Nana always insists that Adjoa behaves according to her age, not take too much, uh, you know, to not take too much, uh, too many, uh, too many, uh, you know. Uh, so she'll ask Adjoa never to repeat that. That refers to whatever Adjoa has just said. Or she would immediately burst out laughing. So maybe because Adjo hasn't been able to express herself properly, Nana will always burst out laughing. Or if she has understood what Adjo has said, she wants Adjo to act her age, and, and she'll tell Adjo never to repeat that. She would laugh and laugh and laugh until tears run down her cheeks, and she would stop whatever she is doing, and wipe away the tears with the hanging edges of her cloth. So sometimes Adjoa's, uh, attempt to express herself would be so funny that Nana would burst out laughing. She would laugh till she cried, till the tears ran down her cheeks, and then she'd wipe the tears away with the edges of her cloth. And she'd continue laughing until she's completely tired. So until she becomes tired, she would laugh. So naturally, this becomes very discouraging for Adjoa. But then, as soon as another person comes by, just to make sure she doesn't forget whatever it was I had said, she would repeat it to her. So, if another person comes there by chance, in order not to forget what Adjoa has said, Nana would repeat that whatever Adjo had said to the second person to not forget it. And then, of course, there would be two old people laughing and screaming with tears running down their faces. So the elders just cannot believe whatever Adjoa's ideas are. So this becomes very, you know, Adjoa becomes very despondent and discouraged. And so, and all that performance or whatever I'd said, I find something quite confusing in all this. That is, no one ever explains to me why sometimes I shouldn't repeat some things I say, while at other times, some other things I would say would not only be alright, but would be considered so funny they would be repeated so many times for so many people's enjoyment. So, to Adjoy, it seems quite natural, whatever she's saying, but sometimes the adults think that Adjo is uh, she's too mature for her age. She shouldn't say such things. And at other times, Adjo could never understand why people would burst out laughing. And some things which she said, some of the things which she said would be considered so funny and they would be repeated so many times for so many people. So to her, it's quite natural whatever she's thinking. But other people think some things she says are serious and some things are funny. You see how neither way of hearing me out encourage me to express my thoughts too often. So she becomes she's trying to express herself, but the responses she gets are very disheartening. They're very discouraging. So uh, neither of the ways, either telling her not to repeat herself or laughing out loud at her, neither of the ways of listening to her express, encourage her to express her thoughts. Like all this business to do with my legs, I have always wanted to tell them not to worry. I mean, Nana and my mother, that it did not have to be an issue for my two favorite people to fight over. So Adjo's legs, whatever there was, either they were too long or they were too thin or they were too, whatever it was, Nana and Mommy would always have a difference of opinion about the length of Adjo's legs. Uh, so they always argued over this issue of Adjo's legs. So Adjo wanted to tell them both that they should not fight over something because they were her two favorite people and she did not want to see them quarreling. When I think back on it now, those two, Nana and my mother, must have been discussing my legs from the very day I was born. So, what I'm sure of is when I came out of the land of sweet, soft silence into the world of noise and comprehension, the first topic I met was my legs. So, when she was old enough to understand what other people were saying, when she thinks back on that now, that the first thing she understood was that Nana and Mommy were speaking of Adjoa's legs. So when she was came out of the land of sweet, soft silence, it is when she came out of the innocence of infancy. As soon as she could understand what other people were saying, she understood that Nana and Mommy were speaking about her legs. That discussion was repeated very regularly. So her legs, the topic of her legs was discussed repeatedly, regularly. Nana, do you know Kaya? I thank my God that your very first child is female. But Kaya, I am not sure about her legs. So Kaya is probably the name of mommy, that is Ajwa's mother. So she says that she's glad that daughter's first child was female, but she's unsure about her legs. And Nana would shake her head. Mommy, mother, why are you always complaining about Ajwa's legs? If you ask me, so Nana, they're too thin, and I'm not asking you. So Nana's problem is that she thinks Ajwa's legs are too thin, and she doesn't want to hear her daughter's Kaya's opinion about Ajwa's legs. Nana has many voices. There is a special one she uses to shut everyone up. So Nana speaks in many different tones of voice, and there's one tone of voice in which she makes everyone keep quiet. Some people have no legs at all. My mother would try again with all her small courage. So she points out that the fact that Adjo's legs are very thin is not a problem because many people have legs which are too short. And she'd speak this with all the courage that she can gather. But Adjo has legs, Nana would insist, except that they're too thin and also too long for a woman. So Adjo's legs are too long and too thin for a woman, says her grandmother. Kaya would listen once in a while, but only once in a very long while, somebody decides nature, a child spirit's mother, an accident happens, somebody gets born without arms or legs or both sets of limbs. So the fact that Adjo's legs are very long and thin is not uh, mommy's fault, it's not Nana's fault, it's not Adjo's fault. Someone would decide. Someone, maybe it's nature who decides, maybe it's the child's spirit mother, the fairy godmother, something like that, or something else. An accident may happen when the child is born, and a child is born without arms or legs or both sets of limbs. Limbs are the set of arms and legs. And then let me touch wood, it is a real sad business. So when the child gets born deformed like this, she touches wood. Touching wood with your fingers is supposed to bring a person luck. So she says that when a child is born like this, it is unlucky and it's a very sad business. And such things are not for talking about every day. But if any female child decides to come into this world with legs, then they might as well have legs. So, the fact that some children are born with legs which are long and thin, so the fact that some children are born without any limbs, or without any arms, or without any feet, they should not be talked about every day. But it is as well that somebody comes with legs which are too long and thin. What kind of legs? And always at that point, I knew from her voice that my mother was weeping inside. So, Nana makes sort of a negative comment about Ajwa's legs. So, mommy asks, what kind of legs? And she would ask in that tone of voice as though she's suppressing some tears because she doesn't want to hurt her child. She thinks a child is it's okay for a deer to have long and thin legs. So she feels very sad that when someone comments upon Adjo's legs, mommy does. Nana never made heard such inside weeping. So whenever Nana would discuss Adjo's legs, she never heard the sadness that was inside mommy. Not that it would have stopped Nana even if she had heard it. Even if Nana had heard, had guessed that Mommy was sad, she would not have stopped speaking about what was on her mind about Ajjo's legs, which always surprised me because about almost everything else apart from my legs, Nana is in such is such a good grown up. So except for her legs, Nana is satisfied with every other part of Ajjoa's body. In any case, what do I know about good grown-ups and bad grown-ups? How could Nana be a good grown-up when she carried on so about my legs? So if she keeps on pointedly commenting about Ajjo's legs, the girl thinks, how can she be a good grown-up? How can Nana be a good grown-up? All I want to say is I really like Nana except for that. So she likes Nana except for the fact that she complains about her legs at Joa. And Nana, as I keep saying, if any woman decides to come into this world with all of her two legs, then she should select legs that have meat on them with good calves. So Nana would say, if any woman decides to emerge from the womb of her mother, then it is important for the woman to select legs that should have meat on them, should be fat, it should be muscular, and there should be good calf muscles on the legs. Because you're sure such legs would support solid hips. So solid legs support solid hips, and in older cultures, solid hips were a sign that woman was suitable to give birth to children. And a woman and a woman and a woman must have solid hips to be able to have children. Oh mother, that's how my mother would answer. So mommy would reply, oh mother. So she becomes suicide very, very quietly, and the discussion would end, or they would move on to something. They start discussing something else. Sometimes Nana would put in something about my father. How, looking at such a man, we have to be humble and admit that, after all, God's children are many. How, after all, after one's only daughter had insisted on marrying a man like that, you still have to thank your God that the biggest problem you got later was having a granddaughter with spindly legs that are too long for a woman, and too thin to be of any use. So Nana would discuss Ajjo's father sometimes. So she would say about Ajjo's father, there was no choice. Mommy had to marry Ajjo's father. Okay, so there are so many things that go on in life. So one of the things that happened by chance was that mommy married Adjoa's father. So after going through that problem, the only result, which was not so bad, was that Adjoa was born with spindly legs. Spindly legs are legs that are too long and too thin. That is what Nana would say. The way she always added that bit about my father under her breath, she probably thought I didn't hear, but I always heard it. So she would add that part about Ajjo's father under her breath. She would speak softly, but perhaps a bit angrily about Ajjo's father. But Ajjo, she thinks that Ajjo probably didn't hear that part about her father, but Ajjo always heard it. Plus, that it is always what shut my mother up for good. So when Nana speaks about her husband, mommy always keeps quiet. So that even if I had not actually heard, if I had not actually heard the words, once my mother looked like even little courage was finished, I could guess what I could always guess what Nana had added to that argument. Plus, even if Adjo has not actually heard the part about her father, she could guess by the way her mother looked, so sad, so dejected. When a mother looked like that, Ajwa knew that Nana had added that bit about her father to the argument. Legs that have meat on them with good calves support solid hips to be able to have children. So that is the final deciding point for Nana. So legs that have muscles, that have good calves and support solid hips would make the woman be able to have children. That is the deciding fact. So I wish one day I could see for myself that the legs of any woman who had had children. So Ajwa wishes that she could see the legs of women in the village who had given birth to children. But in my village, that is not easy. So in her village, Azorzi, it's not easy. The older women wear long wraparounds all the time. So they'd wear something like a sari, only thing it's only one piece of cloth and it's wrapped once about the body. So the older women would wear these wraparounds all the time. Perhaps if they let me go bathe in the river in the evening, I could have checked. So the women of Hazorji went used to bathe in the river. So Ajwa could have gone to check whether the childbearing women of her village had strong legs, but they did not let Ajwa go to the river for bathing in the evening. But I never had the chance. It took a lot of begging just to get my mother and Nana to let me go splash around the shallow end of the river with my friends who are other little girls like me. So sometimes her mother and Nana would let Ajwa go to the river. The girls, Ajwa and her friends would sit on the edge of the river and with just splash around in the water with just their legs. So it took a lot of persuasion to let mommy and Nana give her permission to go to the river just to splash around. For proper baths, we used a small bathhouse behind the hut. For everyday bathing, they would use a small bathhouse behind their hut. Therefore, the only naked female legs I have really ever seen are those of other little girls like me. So, she's never seen the legs of a woman who's grown up and has given birth to children. So, she wishes she could, but the only legs she's seen are of other girls like of her own age or older girls in the school. And those of my mother and Nana, two pairs of legs which must surely belong to the approved kind because Nana had given birth to my mother and my mother gave birth to me. So, because both Nana and Mommy had given birth, uh, the legs of Nana and Mommy must be of the approved kind, approved by Nana. In my eyes, all my friends have got legs that look like legs. But whether the legs have got meat on them to support the kind of hips that Nana wanted, that I don't know. So, to Adjo, all her friends have got legs that look like legs. But whether the legs have enough meat on them to give the kind of to support the kind of hips that give birth to children, that Adjo didn't know. According to the older boys and girls, the distance between a little village and the small town is about 5 kilometers. So, the distance between Hazodzi and the small town nearby is about 5 kilometers. I don't know what 5 kilometers means. She doesn't know what that distance, how to measure the distance, what a kilometer is, how long is a kilometer. She doesn't know what 5 kilometer meant. They always complain about how long it is to walk to school and back. So it is a long distance, 5 kilometers. They say 5 kilometers is a long distance, but Ajwa doesn't know what a kilometer is, how long it is. But to me, we live in our village, and walking those kilometers didn't matter. So to Ajwa, it didn't matter. School is nice. School is another thing that Nana and my mother discussed often and appeared to have different ideas about. So in those days, when the story was written, girls should, they were not really supposed to be educated. So Nana, who was of the older generation, always discussed school with mommy who was younger than Nana, and uh, Nana thought it would be a waste of time. So Nana thought that educating Ajoka would be a waste of time. I never understood what she meant. My mother seemed to know and disagreed. So why should Nana think that school is a waste of time? Adjo doesn't know, but mommy seemed to know, and she always disagreed with Nana. My mother, she kept telling Nana that that is my mother, felt she was locked into some kind of darkness because she didn't go to school. Because mommy didn't have an education, she felt that she was ignorant and she could not deal with the world because she didn't go to school. So that if Adjoa, her daughter, could learn to write and read my own name and a little besides means some arithmetic, addition and subtraction, perhaps be able to calculate some things on paper, she could add and subtract on paper, that would be good. I could always marry later and maybe. Nana would just laugh. When Mommy said that Ajjo could do with a little education, Nana always laughed. And maybe with legs like that, she might as well go to school. So, because her legs are long and thin, they're made to walk. So, Nana would make a joke of it and say, with long and thin legs like that, it's better perhaps Ajjo goes to school. Running with our classmates on a small sports field and winning first place each time never seemed to me to be anything about which to tell anyone at home. So, on the sports field in the school, on the school ground, Adjo would always play games with her friends, and sometimes they'd have running races, and she would always come first. But she never thought it worthy to be told to Nana and Mommy. This time it was different. I don't know how the teachers decided to let me run for the junior section of our school in the district games, but they did. So now it's a district sports competition. So these teachers decide to let Ajor run in the competition. When I went home to tell my mother and Nana, they did not believe it at first. So Nana and Mommy could not believe that Ajor would be taking part in an actual school sports competition that she would be running the race. So Nana had taken it upon herself to go and ask into it properly. So Nana thought she should confirm the news, so she went to the school and asked. She came home to tell my mother that it's really true. So she asked the teachers yes, said yes, they had let Ajor decide to run in the race. So she returned and told mommy it's really true. I was one of my school's runners. Is that so? Exclaimed my mother. I know her. So our mother exclaims in disbelief and surprise. Is that so? So she's happily surprised. Uh, Her mouth moved as though she's going to tell Nana that, after all, there was a secret about me she couldn't be expected to share with anyone. So, mommy always had idea in the back of her mind that the legs of Ajjo would be useful for something, and even though Nana always complained about Ajjo's legs, she would always, suppress her ideas that long and thin legs are really useful. And Adjo always got the idea that mommy thought well of her legs. But then Nana herself looked so pleased. Out of surprise, my mother shut her mouth up. So Nana itself was so happy that her mother, instead of saying, you see, I knew that Ajo's legs were good. So, but Nana was so happy that her mother didn't say anything. In any case, since the first time they heard the news, I have often caught Nana staring at my legs with a strange look on her face, but still pretending like she was not looking. So, when after the news of the competition came, Nana was so happily surprised, but she was still in disbelief because she believed that long and thin legs were of no use. But now that they are seen to be of use, she would look, uh, you know, uh, she would look she would look at Adjo's legs with a strange look on her face that she cannot believe, but still pretend she was not looking. So she would look out at Adjo's legs out of the corner of her eye. So she doesn't want to show her surprise. She doesn't want to, she doesn't want to let others know that she was wrong. So next, all this week she has been washing my school uniform herself. So Ajwa's school uniform was washed by Nana herself. That is a big surprise. For almost a week, Nana washed her school uniform. Nana, who had never wanted Ajwa to go to school, she washed her uniform throughout the week, which was a big surprise. But she didn't stop at that. She went to Mr. Mensa's house and borrowed his charcoal pressing iron each time, came back home with it, ironed and ironed and ironed the uniform until if I had been the uniform, I'd have said aloud that I'd had enough. So, and not only did she wash the uniform throughout the week, but she went to a neighbor called Mr. Mensa, and Mr. Mensa had an iron. She brought the iron back home, iron box back home, and she would iron the uniform so many times that if the uniform had been a person, if the uniform had been Adjoa, she would have said that, it's enough, too much ironing. Wearing my school uniform this week has been very nice. So during that week, Adja felt very happy to go to school in a you know, washed and ironed uniform. And the parade the first afternoon caught the rays of the sun and shone brighter than everybody else's uniform. So on the day of the competition, or on the day of the parade, school parade every day, it caught the sun's rays were reflected, and Adjo's uniform was brighter than anybody else's uniform. I'm sure Nana saw that too and must have liked it. Yes, she has been coming into town with us every afternoon of the district sports week. So even Nana likes the way Adjo's uniform looks, and Nana goes into the town every afternoon of the district sports week. So she wants to see Adjo compete. Each afternoon, she has pulled one set of fresh old cloth from the big brass bowl to wear. So Nana stores her clothes in a big brass trunk. So every day she was wearing a different dress. And those old clothes are always so stiffly starched, you can hear the cloth creak when she passes by. So the clothes of Nana are so uh, clean and so well ironed that, and they also have starch put onto them before they're ironed. So they're so stiff that people can hear the cloth creak when she passes by. But she walked way behind us school children, as though she was on her way to some place else. So she didn't go with Adjo and Mummy. She followed quite a distance behind. Yes, I have won every race I ran for my school, and I won the cup for the best all-round junior athlete. So Adjo won every race she ran in, and she also won the cup for the best all-round junior athlete in that district school competition, school sports competition. Yes, Nana said that she didn't care if such things are not done. She would do it. You know what she did? She carried the gleaming cup on her back. So Nana was so proud of Ajo's achievement that she carried the cup for the best all-round athlete, which Ajo had won, on her back. It didn't matter if people didn't do it. She said she would do it, and she carried the cup back on her back, like they do with babies and other very precious things. So Nana thinks that the cup that Ajo has won is very precious, and this time not taking the trouble to walk by herself. So she didn't walk alone, she came in the company of others, and she carried the cup that Ajo had won proudly on her back, as though it was very precious, like a newborn baby. When we arrived in a village, she entered our compound to show the cup to my mother before going to give it back to the headmaster. So she comes into the village and she shows the cup to mommy, and then she returns to the town to give the cup back to the headmaster. Oh, grown ups are so strange. Nana is right now carrying me on a knee and crying softly, muttering, muttering, muttering that saw thin legs can be also be useful. Thin legs can also be useful. So and now Nana's behavior changes. She used to complain about Adjo's legs, but now she's taken to them, and she carries Adjo on her knee, and she's crying softly, tears of joy, and she's saying, "Thin legs can also be useful. Thin legs can also be useful." That even though, although some legs don't have much meat on them, to carry hips they can run. Thin legs can run. Then who knows? So if thin legs don't have meat on them, and the legs are too thin and the hips are too thin, but they can run, thin legs can run, then perhaps, who knows, they'll be able to bear children also. I don't know too much about such things, says Adjoa, but that's how I was feeling and thinking all along, that surely one should be able to do other things with legs as well as have them because they can support hips that make babies. So I just think, there are many different uses of legs. Not it's not the only use of legs to be muscular and to bear solid hips so that children can be born. Legs have many other uses. That idea was always back in the back of Anjoa's mind. Except that I was afraid of saying that sort of thing aloud. Because someone would have told me, never, never, but never to repeat such words. So she could never say that she always thought that legs have different uses and bearing children is not the only use of legs. She would have been told never, never, but never to repeat such words, or else they would have laughed so much at what I said, they would have cried. So either they would have told her to not to repeat it because they were shocked, or perhaps they would have laughed, they would have thought it a joke, they would laugh till they cried. It's much better this way to have acted it out to show them, although I could not have planned it. So the fact that she participated in the competition, won every prize for every running race, and even won the prize for the best all-round junior athlete in the district school competition. It's better it happened that way. So it's better that she didn't say anything. As for my mother, she has been speechless as usual. But mommy is doesn't say anything. She's probably struck with joy. She's overcome by joy. But when Nana was complaining about Anjo's legs, she was speechless with sadness. So mommy is speechless as usual, but this time it is probably with happiness. Thank you.